everybody. Yeah. Good evening for those that are attending this webinar with us tonight. And I'm Derrick, Fujifilm X photographer, and with me tonight here is Dylan from Brilliant Prints, my special guest. Okay, we supposed to start off with this. Oh, let's just we're going to make this really relaxed and to share with you guys why and how you should do your print. Yeah. But for a start, we were just going to give a little bit of introduction of myself. I think I'm a photographer that everybody knows, wedding and portraiture photographer. But tonight is a little bit more talking about myself as a photographer that I need to print. And who do I go to? Brilliant Prints, Dylan. And to bring back history a little bit, I know Dylan for 14 years?
Yeah, 14 years.
14 years.
Yeah.
Why don't I give a short intro?
Okay, so I'm Dylan Vo, Managing Director of Brilliant Prints. Brilliant Prints is a Singapore-based company. We've been here almost 14 years now. I've met Derrick maybe 15 years. Originally founded by my best friend back home in Australia, and that was almost 20 years ago. Okay, so we specialize in fine art prints, anything digital, transferred to, I guess, archival prints. That's what we specialize in. Well, I met Derrick 2008 early when we did a reconnaissance, I guess, a research trip where we met 40 photographers, mainly wedding photographers at the time, and Derrick was one of those guys we met.
I still vividly remember that particular day. It was, can't remember which day, but it's afternoon. And I met this gentleman with his partner, Liam.
Yes.
City Hall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And interestingly, at that point of time, I was actually researching on providing a print for my client, my wedding couples. And I didn't want the old traditional kind of print with wooden carving kind of frame. So I was researching on what can I give, and then I come across wrap canvas, fine art wrap canvas.
Mm-hmm.
And coincidentally, I received an email from you guys.
Okay.
Yeah. And the next thing is, we met up, and then I still remember Dylan in a very nice suit, carrying canvas, and then, yeah, really good. And it's like, oh, this is what I want, and then the quality is amazing. Mm-hmm. And back then, I think you all didn't really have the idea of what to set up here yet.
Yeah, I guess we had word from our supplier. There was an opportunity at the time. So the backstory was we were supplying a few wedding photographers at, I guess, leading up to 2008, so 2006, 2007. At that point, if you guys remember, I guess prints was big in wedding photography. Everyone had a big print at the reception, right? So it was a need. Photographers here were looking at prints of quality to add value to their business. So we were sending FedEx TNT at the time to Singapore. So with the word from our supplier that there was, I guess, a demand in Singapore, we came across, and over 3 days, Liam and we visited, I think, 30, 40 photographers in our suits, I remember. Suitcase carrying prints. Yeah. And I guess in hindsight, I guess that's why you remember us, and that's why there's a rapport. I guess a handful of those photographers from that visit still print with us and still are partners, which we're grateful for. But I guess that was the start of Brilliant Prints, and I guess what we do in Singapore, the print industry, the quality fine art print industry, with your business.
In fact, at that point of time, to be honest, when I first met you, I didn't know about the setup with a branch in Singapore. So when I go back, I was still calculating about the cost, because once you talk about freight, then it's altogether a different ballgame.
Correct.
So the next thing is, I think I remember I received an email or something that, hey, you're gonna sort of like gonna do a setup here. So the next thing is, everything just escalates quite fast.
Yeah,
quite fast.
Yeah, we don't do anything in halves. So Liam and I, we have an idea. We kind of just smart enough to go through, I guess, the risks and remove, I guess, anything that's not right, and then we analyze it at that point. But in terms of Brilliant Prints, it just made so much sense. The feedback was super positive. Basically, we came across with a product which we guarantee quality, service, with a phase production within Singapore, fast turnaround time. It was a no-brainer for the people which had that need at the time. So once we did go back, I resigned from my banking job.
You're a banker before this,
That's right. I was a banker, everyone. So I resigned. I came here, and just me, my suitcase and a laptop.
Courage.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so it's also thankful for our initial batch of clients who supported us.
I still remember when you all set up here and I was asked to do some test print. So I remember I brought a landscape, Santorini landscape photo.
Right.
My initial idea was just send it to them and they'll print and that's it. But no, I received a call one day and then I was asked to come to the office. And when I step in, I remember I see a very large print that I sent it to you. The rain one.
Right.
Huge. And then next thing is the Santorini shot. Brilliant Prints actually did like I think 4 or 6 sample shots of different, a little bit of like color management in them.
Yeah.
And then they actually asked me, which one do I like? I was, wow, like nobody else in Singapore at that point of time do such customer service. Like, they didn't even say, oh, we're going to charge you this for the 6 print and then you're just going to pick one. No, it's like, and it's not small, it's quite a big size. I think about A3 size or something, A3 or A2 size. And then I was asked to choose. And from there, I straight away know this guy are in for serious business.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, because back then, to be honest, in wedding industry, usually, back then, about 14 years ago, it's a lot of 4R print in slot level. So even then, to choose a printer, we're talking about those print lab out there. I am also a bit skeptical because you don't know how they process a photo and how can I make the best out of it. So what I did back then was I chose a collection of 10 images and sent to I think about 8 to 10 labs, and then ask them to just print flat. That means don't do any adjustment to the shot. And afterwards, with the 10 set of images, I just compare which one does its best. Because I have to do that to find that particular one that do the color that I like best.
Correct.
Yeah, but when I met you guys, it's the other way around. You'll do it for me. And I'm like, okay, this is good. Yeah, straight away I'm like sold in a way. And I would say Brilliant Prints come in the time that you feel in that gap. Because back then, I think Singapore still do a lot of those color separation kind of print that you need big quantity.
Correct.
Yeah, nobody do small quantity print and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, and if you talk about frame, to be honest, it's a lot of Photolab print and then IKEA buy a frame. Yeah. So when you guys come in, it's like, oh, perfect.
Yeah, it was good timing, but it was also the right timing for, I guess, myself and Liam, I guess my family life, the opportunity in Singapore, but also technology. At the time, even I remember coming to Singapore at that time, even calling home, right? I had a dial-up card. So that's an example of technology, right? The printers, right? In the old days, in 2008, I'm so old now. Anyway, 14 years. So the old days, we sent a print that was a meter long, 45 minutes. Yeah? Nowadays, with the new printers, 5-10 minutes. So in terms of technology, at that point, it allowed us to enter Singapore, and at that point, it was a risk, but it was a potentially viable business. But more importantly, it's helping, I guess, other people. Yourself,
I'm quite sure a lot of photographers in Singapore have experienced your kind of service and help.
I hope so. If not, at least heard about our business. But that's what we do.
Okay, so as in 14 years here in Singapore already, how's life and then how's business in the sense of print for you? I mean, is there any difference from back then to now?
Massive. I guess my personal growth, family, it's all happened in Singapore. Leaving the bank, I guess leaving my family, that was a big step. But I guess my personal growth, which is tied with the business, because when you have a business, that's your passion, that's your life. It all ties in. So I guess in terms of challenges, in terms of growth, I came 2008, met you guys, then GFC hit. So GFC was a difficult time because, like Singapore being a financial hub, there was a lot of, I guess, pullback in spending. So we kind of knew that if we made it through that, then it would be okay. You know what I mean? But then at that time, we were close to our clients and I guess our friends, so now. So we were actually in tune with what was going on, so we're on the pulse. But nevertheless, it was difficult to see, I guess, the mass exodus of expats, people not spending. I guess even in the local stores and industries, the people were just pulling back. So it's difficult for us to go through that. But we knew that if we got through that first hurdle, it would be okay. And being new in business at that time, it was a learning curve for me also. Beyond that, it was development in terms of building a team, which I love. I have a great team behind us. Family life, like getting married, 2 kids. Now you go through these hurdles, these challenges, and sometimes growth, not even challenges. So the business goes with that. So it's the ability to manage that. Now, in terms of photography or even art as an industry, massive changes. It's massive. Like I said, the government funding in arts, right, in 2008 wasn't there, or not much. And then even people understanding that it was there when it started gradually coming in. So now we all appreciate it. Now it's evident. We can see it. In terms of photography specifically, it was a ride because we came for the wedding photography market, and as you know, it took a dive, right? So for many reasons, you had international competitors from Taiwan, Korea that came across. You had your consumer spending habits which changed. So an example was in the old days, everyone had a big print at a reception, and then at some point that changed. So that affected, I guess, people like yourself, where you weren't selling prints anymore. Or I guess you weren't having prints on walls, so people, the word of mouth, right? That changed. For us as a business, we had to navigate through that. But in essence, my personal belief is print is timeless. Regardless of, I guess, trend or technology, people will always go back to that. We just ride. So.
In fact, the reason why I've proposed to Fujifilm that I wanted to do a print webinar is because I've given a lot of workshops over a period of time, and I realized a lot of photographers that I meet, they don't really print. And in my aspect of as a photography journey, I always think print is very important. And maybe I'm just going to scroll through. Okay. I came from an era that I started doing film photography, and the film time, you can't choose. You load a film into a camera, and then you do a post-production. Post-production, you either go to a lab and then to convert the film to negative, or you go to the dark room and then you do it yourself. And then the next thing is you expose for a positive, which is a photo. Right? Back then, that's straightforward. It's that straightforward. Right? But then when digital came into the photos, came into the picture, the whole ball game changed, right? So nowadays people will be like, I take a photo, I'll still do the post-production, which is go to Lightroom or Photoshop, smack a preset, or tune whatever you want, and then you just post. You will always end up Instagram or Facebook.
Correct.
It's not a bad thing, but I would say, if you don't print, after a while you forget the image.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And especially I bring some class of students to go out for photo walk, and a lot of people like to bring a camera and then go out and take pictures of the surrounding, especially COVID time, quiet, and everybody go out and do that. But the problem is, I can go out today and then spend like 2 hours, take 100-200 photos, and I go back, I probably look through it, and then I put it in my hard disk. 2 days later, I'm going to do the same thing, and then it just keeps repeat itself. And after a month later, you basically forgotten about a lot of images that you have done before.
Right.
Yeah. Even if it's a certain good image that people really like, they'll just post it up and then that's it. Yeah. So in my opinion is that process itself. I do wish that after you post on social media, take another step, send for print. Yeah, and for of course very basic reason as in if touch wood, if your computer crashed, your hard disk is gone,
Yeah.
your print is still on the wall,
Yeah, correct.
right? I don't know, in that digital effects, I'm just curious, does people bring in film, negative film, and then ask you to print?
We don't get that as often, but sometimes we do. People have old, I guess, the negatives, right?
Yeah.
And they contact us, and we refer them to our partners who specialize in transfer to digital format, which we use then to print. So we do get it, but I guess as time goes, we get less of that. But to be honest, the people who do bring us those projects we find them more interesting because it's different, right? And we find that people like that are, I guess, more sentimental about what they're doing because they understand the process, right? Yeah, the analog, right? So it's not just just print, social media, instant gratification. I mean, there's a more understanding of the full photography process, and not everyone needs to do that. Not everyone does that, but a select few do, which we appreciate as well. But photography has changed so much in that time. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just curious. What does a print mean to you when you have a print in your hand?
For me, I see so many. Right? I see 50, 100 prints per day. And it depends on what it is. So if I meet the customer or the client and I see the end product or initially, then I guess that there's that rapport, right? So there's that understanding, and then I guess it's for them to come back and collect the print, then there's that. If I meet a photographer who's going to exhibition the first time, the second time, 10th time, there's a different experience. I guess every interaction is different. You have people come through with a low-res iPhone 5 image, right? That want to print that on like our premium product, which is the acrylic print. And we look at it, and you look at it in terms of aspects of quality print, you think that's not going to work, but then you understand sentimentally that means something to them. So then you can't look at it as broad picture; it's individually. But then it's for the people who I meet and what that interaction means to me. But in terms of who comes to I guess our business and want to print, everyone has their own reasons, and generally it's a very good reason.
Okay, sorry. Sorry, guys. Coughing a little because I just recovered from COVID 2 weeks ago. Actually, that's also why this particular webinar was postponed till today.
Yeah.
That is because I got COVID 2 weeks ago. And then the last thing that doesn't go away is cough. But I'm safe. Dylan is safe sitting beside me, though we are like a meter apart.
Yeah, we hang out a lot.
Sorry, just I'm taking some sweet. Okay, so cool. One thing about print, as a photographer, it always gives a lot of. Okay, put it this way. To me, every time when I collect a print or a book for my client, it always feels like I'm going to collect my O-level result every single time. Okay, why? This is something people who don't print don't understand. You take the shot, you visualize a photo, and then the next thing is you go to Lightroom, Photoshop, you post-production, you do it exactly how you want it, you like it to be. And then when I send for print, when you collect it, you'll be like, you will really see things in a very different way.
Correct.
When you have a physical copy in your hand, you will start to look at it, not zooming in 100%, 200%, start to nitpick. You look at it as in like, it's a tangible piece of, you can call it masterpiece that we have created.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be there forever.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So to me it is, it becomes important, especially I know that if I have done the photo well and I give it to my client, and if it's printed and then if it's going to be on the wall, it's going to mean a lot to them.
Correct.
Okay, like for example, I have this slide here. Okay, I actually shot these family photos, and while I speak to the mom and dad, they were really excited about, because I shot the kids' wedding. So they hire me again to shoot the family, and then the parents start to bring out old album and start to tell me a lot of stories about, look at this, just like in the slides. very old classic photos, and they start to, after a while, they start to talk about themselves.
Correct.
During that period of time.
Correct.
Where
Memories,
do they like
right?
to go?
Memories, yeah.
And talk about Singapore back then. And
Okay.
suddenly I'm like, I suddenly realized the power of print, and in that aspect of like the photo become a time capsule.
Correct.
And a bookmark that brings them back to that point. They probably in their daily life they don't really talk about it.
Yeah.
But because of that photo, they suddenly recall back a lot of that memory,
Yeah.
and then they start to so-called recall back even a lot of people around that time that comes through their life.
Yes.
And things like that means a lot. Yeah, and to be honest, I wouldn't say digital won't, but the thing is, if you're going to post on Facebook, yes, annually, in your history, your memory going to remind you, oh, last year this time you're going to do what and stuff like that. But that is still on the platform,
Correct.
right? But if you have it printed on the wall, that's a different stuff.
Correct. It's timeless, right? So it's a keepsake, and I guess in our generation, because we're old now, right? So, well, I remember my father, when he picked up photography, it was only a selection of certain cameras, right? It was 2-3 different brands, and they released a camera every 2-3 years, right? And then you printed, you shot, take the film to the Kodak store, and then whatever happens, right? And that was it. You're very limited. So in essence, the photography back then, it was simple in terms of the process, right? I think personally the process, I guess, in terms of learning photography was difficult because you had to understand aperture, you had to understand shutter speed, right? And lighting, right? There was no auto detection, there was none of that back in the day, right? But in terms of what happened afterwards, it was simple because you printed it, right? It went in an album or it went on the wall. Simple, right? Nowadays, there's so many things you can do with it. You could say that with the digital, not to be biased with printing, but with I guess probably in the reverse. With digital, you could probably have a larger audience, right? So more people can see your artwork, right? As a photographer, if you do landscape or a wedding, in terms of marketing even, right? So in terms of being out there, whereas before you shot album, that's it, no one saw it. Nowadays, you could have the different platforms. You have the bigger audience. But unfortunately, in reverse, once again, that gets lost in that space, right? So many people advertising, so much information, right? So in reverse, right? But it depends on why you're printing, the goal of printing, and what it means. Like for you, I understand, like you believe in print, right? You understand that to shoot print, there's a massive, it's like climbing a mountain, right? You get to hear, that's not the peak, right? Most people get to hear, you want to get to the peak. You want to do that last bit is where the magic happens, right? And if, and few people appreciate it or have experienced it, right, in that sense. So then they don't appreciate it. But more importantly is you as a photographer, you believe in that. So when you come to us or you come to your clients or you as a lecturer or a workshop holder, your experience comes from that is what makes you different from everyone else, right? So to translate that, to teach that is important. And because in the digital age, that's not there.
Yes. Okay, I have something to say, but I need to pick up the something.
Okay.
Print basket. Okay, I have. Sorry for the
Time for
disruption. Yep. Yeah, time for a drink. The photo. Yeah. Talking about it, I just want to have. While doing research for this, I actually brought back some of my. Actually, look back my print archiver, and then it reminds me of something that I've done before.
What do you got?
Okay, what I got. Okay, I shoot concerts for a while, many years ago, and I've shot for many big names. Okay, let me share with you this. I think I posted this before. Okay, I've shared. Okay, this is John Legend. What happened is I was his official photographer in Singapore during this concert, and what I did was I have a couple of days with him. After I shoot the concert, the next day I'm still going to see him. What I did was send for print, and the next day I actually asked him to sign.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I actually asked him to sign, and this is only possible with print. Right. I mean, I have a few more, like, this is Oasis. This is Oasis. Okay, unfortunately, I didn't have a chance to get them print. I mean, to sign.
Okay.
Yeah, and another guy, one more. Okay, this guy. Okay, he's famous in name because he's a Pixar animator. I met him. I shot him actually, and then he's an animator for a few movies like Finding Nemo.
Oh, really?
Monster Inc. and Wall-E and something like that. Yeah. So I get to talk to people like that, and then I print, and then I let them sign.
Okay.
And to me, these are precious.
Yeah.
And if it's digital, no way.
NFT.
Yes, I mean, yeah, but then it's different.
It's different.
It's different. It's tangible.
Yeah, correct.
I feel it here.
Very tangible, and that's
Yeah, and it's like precious.
Yes, correct.
Right?
Correct.
So at the end of the day, such kind of things are my journey. That I created sentiments. Of course, the rest of the pictures that I taken from my wedding couples and stuff, I know that if I do it well, those pictures, I always encourage them to print, and then it will be something that is important to them in their life.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So okay, and one more part I want to mention is a lot of wedding couple when I meet them, they plan their weddings. Then they always tell me one thing about, we're also getting a house. We're gonna do this, do that, this decor and that decor. And they will spend tons of money just doing up the house. But I always tell them one very simple thing. At the end of the day, no matter how much you spend for your house, if you do not have prints at home, your house is not complete. Yeah. Just like this particular photo that we have here, was one of my client, a friend, and I shot for them, and they printed and put up on the wall. It's lovely. It really adds life, and it completes the whole vibes.
Correct.
Positive vibes.
Yeah.
And it's a memory.
Yeah, it's capturing moments, right? So it's I remember the bicycle picture because that was in your studio at the time, right? In Chinatown, and at the time I wasn't even into bikes, but I just remember.
Now you write a lot.
I know, but that's a different webinar. Yeah.
So I don't know. For me, it's like if I don't print, I feel okay. I feel there's an incomplete. So to be honest, in my office, I have one box of prints that they are not framed, but then as and when I have a photo that I like, if it's a small print, I will print it in the office. If not, sometimes I'll just go to a photo lab and print.
Right.
If I really like it so much, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Right, and then have it framed. Right. So for me, I feel that complete journey of an image.
Yeah, I think that's coming back to you as being a creative, right? So, we most of our clients are creative, in at least in educational understanding. Or the idea is when you first start out business or you're starting art, you want to share. At some point you're excited about prints on the wall, having a little studio, as an artist, maybe your first exhibition, right? So what happens is people get lost in the business, right, and forget why they started their journey, right? So photography, art, whichever. But at some point, it's about expressing yourself, capturing it, and sharing it, right? And essentially, that's what it is now at the end. But we get lost in all that. You know what I mean? So for you, I think once again, go back to you, is that you always had that. You always you understand you have a collection. Right, but in each moment, something means more to you. Like you pull something out, something that's new, that's coming, you're excited about it. You just sent us something recently, right? Yeah. And I know you're excited about it, and we love it too, right? But for so many reasons, right? But in essence, that's what it is. It's that creativity that you want to share. And with business, you try to just that instill that, or at least educate your clients that. Because as a photographer, a lot of the times people come to you, they don't know what they want. They know what their friend had for their wedding. They know what their friends have on their wall. but they don't know what they want, right? So sometimes they come to you as a professional photographer, as a business person, as an interior designer. Sometimes you have to wear that hat too, right?
Yes.
So you have to say, okay, well, in this case with the picture of the bike and the two kids, right? That works perfectly. The color palette, you know, the kids, you know, that and the sizing, that works really well. And maybe that was your influence. You know what I mean? But in terms of, you know, what you're trying to do now is that you're trying to provide that for your clients who don't know.
In fact, I always have a worry, about digital files, honestly. Throughout my career, I have many experience with digital file.
Yeah.
Up to a point that I'm a little bit of what Singaporeans say, kiasu, in the way I archive.
I understand.
Yeah, I don't mind to share a little bit, you know, for photographers out there to know, because this is something I always tell my client. The way I shoot a wedding, always 2 cameras, a lot of memory cards. And then the cards itself, I make sure that my camera, like my Fuji camera, will have 2 slots, so that you already back up a copy by itself.
Correct.
And then when I go back home after the wedding, I will actually archive 3 external hard disks of that one set of photos.
Right.
And then the next day I go back to the office, I'll archive, and in fact at home I will still have a NAS, a 4 hard drive NAS, 1 copy, so actually 4 copies. And then to the office, I have another 2 external hard disks and 1 NAS. Okay. In fact, yeah. So one set of image, I'm going to archive about 6 sets.
Yep.
And then still keeping the memory card until I complete the job.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also have little habits of, like, you know, I've heard horrible story about, you know, some photographer. I heard story, put it that way.
We've all heard it. Yeah.
They will just copy out 1 set, and then that 1 set, they'll mirror another set into the hard disk. And then that set, like, duplicate more copy. But then after they realize that maybe that project, they shoot 5 cards, but they only initially downloaded 4 cards, right? And then they just duplicate that 4 cards. And then in the end, when you start to work on the photo, you realize that 1 card is gone. But you've been repeating the same mistake.
Right.
So for me, it's like, no, every single hard disk, I know that, you know, in fact, I usually have a notebook. I will write down, this wedding is like, I use 4 cards or like 6 cards. Yeah, so that I go back, I straight away know that, you know,
the system,
yeah, I need to download down 6 cards.
Yeah.
And then the next hard disk will be a fresh backup, not like, you know, duplicate over. I don't do that. Yeah, so that to make sure that, you know, I have enough archive.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, nowadays hard disks are cheap, affordable. Sorry, the word should be affordable. And then, but you don't know.
No, you don't know. We're similar to you, and maybe not to. No, yeah, we're similar to you. We back. We archive. I guess for security and privacy reasons, we delete after a certain time frame. But in terms of, you know, our bookkeeping,
because you don't. Sometimes you have to queue up for the job and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. But also for I guess if we're working with a gallery or with a photographer who's doing edition prints, right? So then they want a specific edit. Right, and they want that for their first print, their 1000th print, you know, so we have to keep that file, right? So then we put it to 2-3 different NAS, through mirroring, RAID, through cloud, you know, so we're protected in that sense. But I guess what's important there is understanding your own process, you know, how that works for you, how that is an insurance for your clients, and business-wise, right? So that's why people come to people like you, because, you know, your experience. You know, so you're not going to lose. It is scary, but you know, you're smart enough to understand that, right? And
no, but and I really have one experience that I shared with you earlier. That
I remember.
I shifted office once, and somehow that new office flooded.
I know.
And then when I moved in, everything was on the floor. I haven't even packed, and then it's flooded. And I have a few archival work. Usually I archive when the project ends, but there's a few hard disks that fried.
I remember.
I'm like. Yeah. I mean, yes, the job is completed. I mean, I delivered, and then that's fine. But I still want it as something I want to keep.
Correct.
As a journey for myself. Correct. But then it's gone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And on the clientele side, I also experienced something like I remember one incident. I think I also told you about this. That I have one client that I shot the wedding over 10 years ago. And then back then I deliver in DVD,
Mm-hmm.
you know, DVD. So the husband come to me and something like, oh Derrick, 10-year anniversary, I want to print the photos and then to give my wife a surprise. I said, oh cool, that's good. You know, I actually referred to you guys. But they said, but the problem is, you give me a DVD drive. My computer do not have a DVD drive now.
Yeah.
I mean, I give a DVD, they don't have a DVD drive now. Can I pass you a DVD and you convert to a thumb drive for me?
Yeah.
I said, sure. My computer still have DVD drive.
Okay.
So I converted, I give it to him. But when I give it to him, I say, 10 years later, you're going to come back to me. There's a high possibility you're going to end up the same situation.
Correct.
Yeah. So periodically, you have to update your archive.
Yes.
Or even you may put up to cloud and stuff like that. But in general, if you talk about digital, it's difficult to see a longevity and don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Correct.
Yes, I mean there's a certain security up to a certain level, but if you compare to a print, right, it will always going to be there.
Correct. Correct.
So that part wise, it's as a photographer, that is the scary part of a digital, you know, how you manage data management and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, which I didn't know that you actually face the same.
We face it. I guess it's part of our risk management. But I guess going back to print, right? So it's understanding of that process, right? And then it's selection, right? So as a photographer, you shoot a wedding, like, you know, you're talking about 6 different memory cards, right? And given sometimes you do give out the soft copy, sometimes you don't. Sometimes I know your part of your package is a print, right? So my question to you is, how do you select, right, that print that is given to the client?
Okay, I let them choose.
You let them choose. Okay.
Because at the end of the day,
do you narrow it down to?
I narrow it down.
Okay.
But then, of course, at the end of the day, it's just straight human behavior that when a person look at a photo, I realized this through my learning. Sometimes you give client a photo, in the photography point of view, amazing composition, amazing lighting. But if they look at themselves, they find themselves doesn't look good, then this isn't a very nice photo.
Yeah, I get it. Okay, or if the wife gets involved, right?
Okay, no comments on that.
Because Derrick's wife's behind the camera, so anyway, so
so in the aspect wise, that part is actually rather crucial. The data part. That's the reason why even a streamline, even straight from picking up a camera, I make sure my Fuji camera has 2 slots that already back up by itself.
Correct.
Yeah. So that becomes like a requirement. To start off, to kickstart it correctly.
Correct. Yeah. So going with the Fuji cameras, like, I guess we had a quick talk about it the other day with the lenses and the new 100 megapixels.
Oh yeah.
Dude, you're shooting stuff in Australia from Singapore. Like, that's how, you know, like the lens and everything, right?
But you look at it in other ways. With that kind of sensor size, it's good for print, right?
It is good for print. Like, there was a transition. You know, long story, but my brother was a photographer back in the day, and at that time he was shooting film, right? And film for print was preferred. But like in the last, and that transition went like that real quick to digital, right? And 100 megapixels and the new lenses which they're about to release, it's beyond what the professionals even use, right? And I know you find it difficult keeping up, right? But with Fuji and I guess most camera companies at the moment, they've got a range of equipment that they kind of stagger in terms of marketing, but it's well beyond what we need as a printer. The end user as appreciation of print, but more importantly is that as a photographer you have this range now of what you have access to produce that final product, right? Regardless of if it's print or digital, right? And it's there. You know, and going back to your question about technology, that helps our business as well. Like, I get questions a lot. Like 2 days ago, I got a painter. She wants to capture her own artwork so she can do the limited edition prints. And she also asked me about, you know, medium or large body. Like, dude, like most of my clients, I know you shoot with medium, right?
Yeah.
You don't use the full body for your most of your shoots.
Okay, but you talk about if I use the Fuji, the XT series,
Okay.
but the sensor size are already amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, but of course, if I need something like a bigger prints and stuff like that, I'll
Right.
go for the GFX, the 100 or the 50, which is like a lot of pixels.
Okay. Okay.
Amazing details,
Yeah.
good noise, and amazing autofocusing, and it helps. To be honest, sometimes
Yeah.
inevitable if you need to crop the photo a little bit. The worrying part of photographer is if the sensor is slightly smaller, after you crop it, then you have limitation in terms of the print size.
Correct.
Right? But with a 100 megapixel, you're the king.
All day.
You're the king. You can shoot, and then you have all the data and all the power to
Correct.
manipulate anything you want.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Like you crop it, you can even do it into a few panels of shoot, and then just break it down into a few canvas, right? Like the possibility just exploded.
Yeah. And we see that, you know, with our professional clients and the resellers that come through, even our amateur photographers or hobbyists, they're coming through with awesome files. Right? And it's not required. Like we get that question a lot. What kind of file size do we need for print? The answer is it changes. Like you probably go more into this in one of your slides, but in short, you know, like I guess the technology is more than what is required nowadays. Yeah.
But what I will feel is, I will still strongly suggest that anybody who want to learn and improve photography, print.
Correct.
It's very important because at the end of the day, I always visualize. In fact, one of photography mentor many years ago actually shared this with me. As in, he told me, as in, if you shoot up to post-production, you only complete about 65-70% of your whole photography process. You need to print. The print will stand about 20-25%. And once you receive the shot, you look at your photo, then you understand your style.
Correct.
Did the end product speaks what you want to tell in the photo? The color, the kind of like composition, even composition. When you look at a monitor and you look at a print, it's two different things.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I mentioned that every time I collect a print, it felt totally like a O-level result.
Yeah, and we get it too. Like we see a file on a monitor on screen, and we see the print come out, and then once we frame it, which is the final step, it looks completely different. And then choice of frames, choice of matte, completely different. But what I find is that when you go to print, you're out for feedback. You're critiquing, right? So whether it be on a wall exhibition or whether it be in a mall or whether it be at someone's house, right? Or even if you see it yourself, right? There's that large, what I was saying, that last point, I guess the last bit where you have to go through, right? So it's color management, right? So color management is understanding the full process. So if you shoot and edit for Instagram, for instance, or even for social media like Facebook, there's a range or gamut that's missing, right? And only, I guess, someone who fully understands print and photography will understand that or appreciate it, right? And to be honest, 95%, if not more, of the world wouldn't even notice or care, right? But what I do know is that people generally who understand the full are better photographers and better business people, right? They're complete. You know what I mean? So whether that their clients or I guess the general public understand it or not, it doesn't matter. Them themselves have a better understanding. And it goes back to our conversation last time where if someone comes to our business and sit down with the team with fully loaded questions, I've got this camera, I've got this spec, I've got this file, it's raw, it's like 1,000,000 megapixels, you know what I mean? Here's the terabyte of files just for one picture. What's the outcome? For us, yes, you understand, and you're providing us a lot of information which helps us help you, right? But most of the time, it's not really required. But we appreciate that you understand that. And then the last step, which is that our education to that person, is to get it to print, right? And then most of the time, there's a bit of a disparity, but the end result is a print, that everyone appreciates. Yeah. So through learning, through education, and we learn too. We learn from our clients, and we learn through our suppliers.
So, is there any common, I wouldn't mistake, or rather, issues that when people bring in a file? I mean, I'm not talking about photographer. I mean, anybody, your customer, that you all face any common kind of issue, like maybe the color, the file size, and stuff like
it ranges depending on, I guess, how experienced they are or how much, I guess, how new they are. But the questions, I guess, we have range from resolution. Like, I guess one of your slides coming up will be about the
monitor calibration.
Monitor calibration, right? So
I heard from one of our staff to say that every time you ask a question, that is that true? You're going to ask your.
It is. It's a simple question, but basically, if someone comes to us with a file, right, and they ask us, we look at it and we think it's a little bit funky or not right, or if they ask our opinion, we will look at it and we'll make our own professional judgment based on our experience, and we'll give feedback. But most of the time, 95, 98% of the time, it's because their monitor is not calibrated. Right? So calibration is, you have a little spider or another device which makes your monitor to an international standard. Easiest way to explain that is Coke Red. Right, so Coke Red is red, right? So if my monitor is Coke Red, your monitor is Coke Red. If you're editing off a monitor that's calibrated, we're seeing the same color. Yep. And most, I guess, especially the retail clients or the newbies, they don't understand that color workflow. So from the get-go, right, the color workflow is out. Right? But that's fine. It's just a bit of tweaking around, I guess, education. At that point, what we do ask is your monitor calibrated? Because if it's not, then what we do is say, hey, look, would you like to borrow our spider? Would you like?
Oh, you actually? Oh,
yeah, we've got a few of them, I think, or maybe some of them not returned. But anyway, so we lend out our spiders because it helps, with our customer service.
In the long run, right?
For sure. We do offer them to come down, look at it on our monitor, and then next step there is that we do test prints. Even from monitor, like, to be honest, with the calibration, ambient light, right? So as you understand, like, if you're working next to a window or, like a lot of fluoro lights, your ambient light's going to be different. So what you're seeing is different. And then once again, going to print, right? So going to print is another learning journey because depending on what media you choose, right, the end result is different once again. And then that's the education to the client, a few times people will come to us and say, hey, we want like a print on metal. But they give us a file and they're not expecting that result, or they're asking our opinion to see what is preferred. And as you know, we have a range of media, and each media will give a different result, regardless.
So will you recommend? Will you like, if let's say today I'm a customer, I walk in and say, oh, I just took this really nice photo, but I don't know what to print.
We do get a lot. What we do there is we kind of sit down with the client. We understand their needs, so we ask them questions. So the same way in reverse, right? Once again, like we say, hey, okay, Derrick, what do you have? Okay, landscape, cool. What's your goal? Is it going to be in your home? Is it going to be for sale? What's the wall space? What's the end goal? What product do you think you like? And there we kind of understand, eliminate a few things, or we kind of go towards one product, or I guess we narrow it down, right? But more importantly is that we understand the customer's needs first, right? And then we go from there. Like going back to what I was saying before, a lot of people don't know what they want. It's because they're not creative. They don't know the print industry. They don't know camera equipment. They don't know lenses, right? So it's about education as well, which is super important. At that point, then we offer, or we educate them, and then they choose. So it's easier than they come in and say, hey, look, and to be honest, like, I'm not sure if you can see it here, but the canvas printer is our core product, and we sell probably 50% of our revenue comes from canvas, right? And which is what you love. But we have a number of people who come in for the canvas who are seeing the acrylics for the first time. So, I didn't know. I think that, but then we will say, well, it may not work, or it does work, or yeah, for sure, go for it. But once again, it's understanding the client's needs, and then of course going back to the digital work and the file and colors and so on. So it's a full, I guess.
But file size. What about file size? Because I'm going to talk about file size, something about file size.
This is really important.
Yeah, which is it's rather interesting. Even I have met photographers from workshops, and even my client. I've experienced this before. I put out a slide and show everybody. You know, people who see my work know that I do shoot quite a bit of black and white, and then I've ever given client their image, and when they look at it, they'll be like, "Oh, Derrick, your file is only about 2 meg." Yeah, just like this particular photo, 2 meg. 2 meg is a very small file. How big? I can't print big. And then some of them don't even tell me, and then they just stop printing totally. And I just want to share a little bit of this understanding about file size, because I think it's a little bit of a misconception. Even for myself, previously, I didn't know about this. But of course, throughout the years, I learned. Especially, I want to know that, with the camera sensor sizes nowadays getting bigger and bigger, you don't really just want to post it online, and stuff like that. You want to print. And then, but how big can your camera print? How big a size can it print? And when somebody see a small file size, they'll be thinking, oh, too small, which is not true. I want to share, this particular file that I just showed, it's a 2 meg file. But if you look at the printer, don't really need to see that file size. They want to see the resolution size, which is in this particular case is 6,240 by 4,160. And in fact, if you were to look at this picture, this same particular picture in color, the file size is 15 meg.
Correct.
But the resolution size is the same. So these two picture is going to print exactly the same size you want. This can be in the maximum size, but it will not be determined by the file size. Reason because the file size changes because of the amount of data within that file. So even you have a camera that is, say, a 26 megapixel camera, if you will take a few pictures and if you put out the computer and you look at the file size, every single picture will be different.
Correct.
Because of the amount of data that is captured differently inside.
Correct.
But that resolution size is still going to be the same. Yeah, and that's what that's what's needed for the print. I have some Fujifilm camera here in terms of the file size. For example, I talk about the X-T4 first. X-T4 is a 26 megapixel, and the photo that I just shown you was actually taken by this camera, and it's 6240 by 4160. So if you take this number and you divide by 300 dpi, which is usually a print, so-called a baseline for print, you just take this number divided by 300. So this print can print up to 20.8 inch by 13.86 inch. Yeah. So if I have a GFX100 that is like 102 megapixel, and then the resolution, I'm able to print way much bigger. Yeah. But of course, at this so-called calculation here, we are talking about 300 dpi, which is usually a print standard.
Correct.
Yeah. But I do also understand that for printer, even for brilliant prints, I will go to them, and then I'll just leave everything to them, because they are the expert of knowing what kind of medium require what kind of file size. Am I right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So do you actually lower the 300 dpi for print?
We do, and it scares a lot of people, but in terms of if you work with us, it doesn't scare you anymore. But the easy way to explain that is different media have different properties, right? So if you're shooting on a luster super gloss paper, the ink is going to sit at the top, right? So you put 300 dpi dots per inch, right? It's just going to sit, right? So with technology, with calibration, you understand the workflow, you understand the result. And if you're very in tune with your media supplier, and you print enough, and you understand that, the output. For us, we work with, a fine art media supplier. And the two products which I guess you're talking about is our fine art products, so the fine art canvas media, and also our watercolor photo rag, right? Water paper. So basically, those two products are cotton base, right? So the easiest way for me to explain that, going back again, is it's like your cotton shirt. So when you put a pen in your shirt, it kind of bleeds through, right? But if you can manage and understand how much it bleeds, where it bleeds, right, and in what conditions, and then how to laminate or protect it later, then yeah, so you're not required for that 300. So 300 on photo paper, on canvas or on fine art photo rag is too much ink. So it works in reverse, opposite, where you're putting too much ink per square inch, and you get a blurred picture. Okay. So yeah, people get nervous, and sometimes we don't even tell them. But in terms of people who do ask, we you know.
So it means that, for example, let's say for a canvas print, you require lesser DPI.
That's correct. Yeah. But the resolution is required.
Right?
Yeah. It's just that last step where we just change it for printing. But in terms of editing, in terms of getting that final transfer to the file required, file type required, that's what is needed for us to look at it in terms of workflow. So in terms of monitor to print, all right, and then at that point we decide
you still need a resolution, right?
That's correct. So
and so that means, let's say you are able to reduce certain DPI to suit that particular media.
Correct.
Means you can print bigger.
Yes, for sure. And then people be surprised. And with the media and the technology nowadays, you can actually print a lot larger. So you add that with the technology of the Fuji cameras, it's ridiculous. You know what I mean? So unless you're printing for like a billboard, like.
Yeah, but well, if you print big, you also don't look at it so close.
You don't. You stand back, and there's a rule of thumb where a certain print size, you got to stand back. And in Singapore, unfortunately, with the spaces that we have, we're restricted. So that's why we generally see a limited, size in print. But now and then we'll get a very big print or something that stands out.
So how big is the biggest that you have printed before?
Big. Dude, it was ridiculous, right? 140 by like 5 meters or something stupid. Like it was ridiculous. Yeah, it was canvas. A place. It was canvas. A place in Sentosa, and it was like lorry delivered, lifted up the stairwell.
Even the delivery, you have a problem.
Of course, and I guess that's part of our business, right? So understanding and providing solutions, right? So understanding what it was. But it was a challenge, and we did it, and we're proud of it. But most of the time, it's not that. But we do get excited by, projects
of course,
like that. Yeah.
Big prints. Okay, so for example, I want to print something huge. Of course, it also means it will be a little bit more costly. So how does it work? Because I wouldn't really want to send a file and then straight away you're going to print straight up. And then if the color is not what I want?
Definitely not. Well, so I guess our process is, we will say, hey, Derrick, it is a big print. And, we will say, hey, look, we can do cutout test prints. Right? So we do, depending on the size, right? So generally we do sections of different parts of the print, depending how big it is. One of each section, of course, and one of, the whole print in like an A4 or something. Just so we're sure and you're sure of end result.
Make sure that the color, is accurate.
Correct, but also like the pixels, right? Because people generally don't see their artwork at 1 meter 40 by 270 or even 6 meters, right? And for them to see it, and they look it up close, and we say, hey, you can't do that. You got to stand back. So it's that as well.
Actually, my experience, that part is a little bit. If I don't print, if I just look at it in computer, it's annoying. Because if you want a big print and you want to check through the frame, that means you're going to zoom in and like 100%. You guys just going to see bit by bit, by bit.
Correct.
It's annoying.
It's annoying, but you also understand it, right?
But at least if you do small print,
yeah.
At least the critical part of a certain color renderization, right?
Correct.
You are already you are aware that it's fixed.
It is. Yeah.
Rather than I order a big print, and then when it's delivered to me, and then I'm like, oh no, I'm going to put this thing, I'm going to hide it away if it's like not up to what I want.
Yeah,
in terms of maybe it's my color management, in terms of post-production that I did it wrongly.
Yeah, but that's fine, and that's why we have these processes. And Brazilian prints, underlying guarantee is that if you're not happy with the prints, we don't charge you. We just reprint it, we just redo it.
You hear that, huh? But don't abuse it.
That's fine. Yes, thank you for that, Derrick. But basically, you know, we do our best to before we actually produce the print, because in terms of, you know, I guess reprinting or going through that process again, we don't want that. We don't want to go through it. We don't want the experience to be gone through. We capture that early. So you know, all these processes, the test prints, the understanding, the questions, you know, it's for that reason.
That's why I've ever come here and then I realized that there are some customers that come in and then they are doing consultation session with your stuff.
There's artists which are being based here. Like you came in this afternoon, there was 2 or 3 different artists who were just hanging out, right? And that's what they do. Sometimes it's to pick up a print. Sometimes it's just hang out. Sometimes it's to come see their print come out of the printer. Sometimes with their friends. You've been in that yourself, right? So it's yeah.
So recently I actually sent a print and I make a very simple video of how the process is done. So maybe we can actually take a look at this video.
Okay, cool.
Okay, that's a very simple video to show that you see the print here. That's the print that went through that printing process, and then the trimming, and then it's framed. Yeah. So the last 2 pictures that is shown in the video is actually showing about paper. What kind of paper? Okay, if you want to print, or rather, when I print, I'm rather particular about the kind of paper that I choose. I think Dylan knows about it. And then previously, even I do the exhibition, I actually studied and then understand what kind of paper they have. And I actually chose this acid-free textured paper, which is for a lot of people who want to try printing. Brilliant Prints actually provides many variety of paper.
Correct.
But for me, I always go for this particular paper. Okay, first thing is, if you have heard about the word acid-free, okay, not many people understand what is acid-free, right? Dylan, you want to explain a little bit what is acid-free?
Yes. So basically, acid-free means it's pH neutral, right? So in terms of, I guess, the properties inside the paper or to make the paper, there is no acid. So you're not going to get color shift. Example is, a lot of times you see your A4 papers lying around the house or in the office, and they're yellow. And the reason why they're yellow is the bleaching that makes it white in the beginning, and eventually that shifts, right? So an acid-free paper, which is, I guess, a requirement for museums and art galleries, is it has to be pH neutral, so acid-free. So acid-free for us, as I guess a fine art printer and framer, is not just the paper. It's acid-free. I guess the matte card, the cardboard, as most people know it as, and also I guess the backing and the framing. So it's
all these are acid-free as well?
Correct. Even the tape, so in the tape at the back, it's acid-free, right? So one of the questions when you do, I guess, provide prints for an art gallery or a museum is you got to specify what I guess materials you're using. And I guess the reason is that if you have a limited edition print, right, or I guess even art, right, if you're using like high acid, I guess, a chemical tape, that could potentially eat into the print or the artwork, right? So it's preserving. I guess, yeah, and that's what we do. But more importantly, is for you is you have an acid-free paper, so the color's not going to shift. But just as important is you have a nice white point, right? So it's acid-free, it's but as white as possible. And as if any photographer knows, your white point and is very important. Right? So as white as possible without being yellow. So yeah.
So if I were to print, is there any particular thing that I have to take note of? For example, like if I were to look at the photo in my computer, and when I do the printout, is there any like will the brightness be the same?
Definitely not. No. Even with color management and with the spider and your full workflow, generally there's, depending on I guess how particular you are and how good your monitor is, there's probably about 5% difference, and that's with full color workflow.
5% means that if I want to send that image for print, I need to brighten it about 5%?
Correct. And that's 5%, and then even before that, depending on the media type. So we would advise, or what you could do is send us the file, advise us which media type you would like, and our team will...
You adjust accordingly?
Correct.
To make it as close as possible to what you see in a computer?
Yeah. But also sometimes, like to be honest, we have the fine art paper, right? We have two types, the textured, which is like a canvas type of feel, but on paper, or smooth. Even then, the white point is slightly different. So we adjust for that.
I know. We have some sample here.
Oh, okay, cool. Is this your work? Where did this come from?
No, yours.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you for whoever provided.
I was told it's exciting actually, because the amount of variety that you'll get to choose from, like this is metallic paper, right? Yeah, metallic. So there's a matte, textured matte paper. This is semi-gloss.
It's our semi-gloss. So
and then this is metallic paper. So, okay, I'm sorry, through the camera maybe you can't see it, the difference, but it has that different characteristic that it will, if you pick it correctly, it should enhance your image.
Correct, and basically it comes down to what your, I guess, the output that you would like. Now, the semi-gloss, which is our most popular photo paper, is semi, so it's not full gloss or luster, and it's not matte, right? The issue is with the gloss is it's reflective. So reflective, you kind of lose detail, you kind of lose that, the information in the image. And once you put it behind glass, it's even worse, right? So we find, I guess, through survey and I guess through orders, our data is that most people prefer the semi-gloss, which is what this is. Now, on the complete different scale is that we have metallic paper. And metallic paper is like, the easiest way to explain it is like a pearl sheen, right? So it works well with black and whites, it works well with landscape, waterscapes. Not so much, I guess, portrait or skin tones, but it does have its own, I guess, vibe or taste, right? But looking at it here, you can't see it, but it is metallic. So I guess the coating is metallic.
It's actually, excuse me, it's actually less warm, I realize, the paper, right? As compared to if it's fire paper.
Correct. Yeah. But within that, then we edit for it,
Even here, you see, there's 4 kinds of paper that they have, and this is amazing. This is actually somebody painted and then scanned it or something like that, and then like printed.
Yeah, it's a combination.
It looked like a watercolor. I mean, you can't really see, but then it's actually like a watercolor. It's amazing. And then, so a good thing is why I see people come in and then have consultation session. I think probably this is one good thing, that if they are able to have a feel and have an idea of the paper, and then they're able to choose something that is suitable for them.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
And to be honest, to feel a print, a digital print, on paper, it's amazing. It's amazing, really, really. And then when it's framed up, see, yeah, it's like anytime I can put it up on the wall or sell it.
Well, that's
yeah. So I think in terms of this, after you choose a paper, you print it. In fact, it doesn't stop there. Usually, in my opinion, right? Because especially previously, actually, I did 2 exhibitions. One is for the Tsukiji Fish Market, and the other one was actually the street photography work. And then Dylan is very nice. I always like consult him, and then he will tell me, oh, you should use this, and then this you should choose the frame. The frame, and then they will actually tell me, hey, you should use which mounting board. Yeah, okay, this is one of the street photos that I shoot with a Fujifilm X-T3. I printed a frame. Okay, and then these are the variety of the frame they have. And to be very honest, I always have friends telling me, oh, I can just go and do a print and then send to, and just go and buy an IKEA frame and then done. But to be very honest, I have used IKEA frame before. Okay, I'm not trying to say they are bad, but it's just of a different requirement that you need. If you want something to last and have that longevity, I would say, you know, the taking into details of the acid-free paper, acid-free mounting board, and then even the tape behind. Actually, all that will play a part in archiving that print.
Correct.
Right?
So, yeah, definitely. And most importantly, there is if it's enclosed, it's mounted and it's archival. Because you know you can have the best print, and if it's not mounted, you're going to get mold, especially in Singapore. Right? With the humidity, you're going to get mold within 3 months, right? IKEA, we love. I love IKEA, and we have a portion of our clients who print just for IKEA frames, right? Whether that be for local, sale, or even for, international transfer or sales that way. But IKEA, have their own niche, and we kind of fulfill our own as well. But in saying that, we have, frame partners which we work with who do something a bit more intricate, provide frame molds that we don't provide, but I guess what is important is that the print is protected, whether you go through us, but first and foremost, you got to go back and you got to look at the reason why you're printing. So if it's short term, cool, IKEA, I use IKEA, right?
Okay. But IKEA is always standard size.
Correct,
right?
yes.
But what about you guys? Let's say I want to do a really small print, but a really huge frame. Doable?
Yes, doable.
Huge mounting board.
Yeah, I guess one of the things we do here is we do in-house framing, right? So we have, the equipment and team and the process. Customize, right? And I guess the craftsmanship behind it. So we can do print and frame, but more importantly is we guarantee it, right? So we that print that you just picked up there, that has a 35-year guarantee. Right?
35 years.
Yeah. So for your clients, whichever, there's an issue, there's mold, there's there's shifting color, the frame comes apart. I guess the value there is that it is guaranteed, and it's actually beyond 35. We just put 35 because it's a reasonable number, and it's a fair number.
And I know canvas is different. Canvas have a...
Yeah, canvas is 75. It's actually a lot higher. It's like
75 years, I will no longer be around.
Hopefully I will be. I don't know what I'm going to do. But yeah, so these things, scratch-proof, waterproof, antifungal. And for the most part, that's why people in Singapore like this. It's just durable, right?
Minimalist.
It's dirty, just wipe it down, right? But even myself, I guess as the owner, or I guess going through all these products, is I shift. In the old days, it was canvas print, and then at some point, I liked it because it was minimal. I like it because there's no reflection, right? But to be honest, recently, I shifted to this because I like the reflection. And so it's that.
Do you do the anti?
We do anti-glare. Not many people do take it up, and the reason is, for anti-glare on a certain angle, or if you move, right, you lose detail. It's worse than the reflection, right? But some people like it. If you've got a fixed hallway, you've got a fixed spot for the art, and you understand interior design or even positioning, then perfect, right? But in terms of the gallery, or it may not work, especially for resale, because anti-glare may not work for someone else's space. You know what I mean? But anti-glare is there. We do offer it, but we don't sell much of it, to be honest. And it's pricey. Yeah, but it's there. We cater. Yeah.
So in terms of let's say when I send a print to and let's say I want all sizes. All sizes means, for example, canvas. I like this photo, but it's a bit boring to just print like that. Can I chop it off to like 5 sessions.
Yeah.
And then like, you know,
For sure.
so I can just bring a file and then
Yeah.
you guys will do all the
Yeah,
cutting up.
we'll do it. We'll tell you if it looks good or not, but we'll do it. Yeah. So.
Because like you say, some client, they may have ideas, but they don't know the whole execution
Yeah.
process of it.
Yeah.
And it might not look good.
We don't know. It could mean
Because it may just
it
chop
could
off somebody's face.
It could, and it kills the composition, right? And as an artist or a photographer, it kills you, right? Yes, it does happen, but you know, more importantly is you understand what they want. You go from there.
Yeah,
But it's definitely possible, and the reason for that is we do everything in-house, right? So from our printing, our lamination, to our framing, packing, shipping, it's all in-house. It's all our team. So we have full control of quality, process, time frame, pricing, efficiency. It's all there. But you know, first and foremost is we understand what you guys want.
So since you mentioned about, you know, our environment, our humidity is just bad in terms of like, you know, moisture and stuff.
Yeah.
How should my client or myself, like we already having all those frames or prints or canvas, or how do we maintain, how do we take care?
It's education, right? So for us, it's on our website. For you as a photographer, it's your understanding, and you advising that to your clients. It's what you believe, right? So if you're going to sell something as a photographer or as a business person, you have to believe in it. And you know, I know you like the fine art print. I know you like the canvas. It's because you believe in it. So it's easy for you to sell, right? So it's understanding your client's need, right?
So what about if I want to take care, like, you know, make sure that, you know, it lasts 75 years?
Yeah, it's 75 years, but most people don't care. Like
do I use a solvent damp cloth?
For the most of our prints, you avoid chemicals, right? So
just water?
Water, wet baby wipes, wet wipes, damp cloth. So even on the frame molds,
just dust off?
Dust off, yeah. You don't really want like Mr. Muscle or any of that kind of stuff on the prints, right? But you know, with that is understanding. So if we have a picture frame like that, right, and it's going to be in like a high foot traffic space, right? We may say, look, hey, especially with kids around or something, we may say, hey, look, let's not go glass, let's go acrylic. You know, because it's safer, right? But then we say, well, okay, well, maybe if it's a little bit higher up or something, then you're going to clean it a lot. You don't want acrylic because the acrylic might scratch. Right? So it's really understanding, I guess, their need. Yeah. But you know, in terms of, I guess, a photographer or a business, right? You're always going to kind of work out what you like anyway. Right? So as much as, you know, we come up with metal prints or other prints for you, right? You have a certain style. And I know you get interested. I know you part of your learning and development is you look into these things, right? And which is important because you grow, right? But then, you know, sometimes you might have a client who may want a metal print, and you know who to go to, right? Even if it's not with us, it's someone else. But more importantly, is you understand it, right? So you can confidently say, okay, well, that's cool. No canvas print, but metal print might be suitable for you. You know what I mean? So it's understanding what's not just within what you normally do, but it's outside that as well, which is important.
Okay, cool. So you're here for 14 years now?
Yeah.
So from day one to now, like, you know, I understand that you're like, you know, will so-called R&D new products and stuff like that. I mean, up to this point, like many, right? You really have many.
We do. We started with 2-3 products, and it's probably sitting at, my team would know better, in terms of variation, in terms of particular products, a lot. But what I can tell you is that we have even a longer list of products that we have ready or are looking into. But a lot of it has to do with, I guess, client demand. Has to do with, I guess, our team. When we're not busy, we're ready to R&D. We're comfortable with the process, comfortable with the outcome. We're not going to release a product into the, I guess, the industry that we can't confidently guarantee. You know, so I guess, you know, we sit down. Like we sit down. My I guess my office manager and I, my business manager that is, we sit down and we go through it. Product, great product, but can we develop it? Can we do one print well? Can we do that same product 1,000 times well? If someone comes back to us 10 years time and asks for that same print, can we still reproduce that? And we won't, right? For the most part, release that, or I guess into the public until we're comfortable. But in saying that, we've got a few coming. We've got a lot more that's, you know, that's ready also. But you know, it's also the market, right? So COVID, that threw a few curveballs. And we're not going to throw a bunch of, I guess, products out there which no one's going to buy, right? Because, you got to be on the pulse. You got to be, I guess, understanding what the client needs are. And there's no point of just offering products, you know what I mean? So it puts stress on everyone. So a lot of it has to do with, I guess, industry being ready, efficiency, and our team, which is the base of it. Yeah.
So for anybody that's watching us right now, for people who have never print and want to print, what will you recommend usually? Let's say somebody walk in and shop and I want to do a print. Which will be the first kind of product that you will recommend? I
recommend you look at our website first. I recommend that you call the team and ask a few questions, book in the time. What we do love is customers coming in and us sitting down with them. We want that solid 30 minutes. We want that solid hour where we can understand what you really want. You know what I mean? The website filters out a lot. It educates a lot. And we hope that that's enough, but sometimes it's not. And people have questions, and people in Singapore, particularly, very intuitive, right? They want to understand, and they want to touch, they want to hold, right? And Singapore, everything's within 15 minutes, so it's easy to come down to our studio. So getting back to your question is, please look at the website, please call our team, and then book a time, because we want to fully understand.
And I would think, let's say I've never printed before. My idea would be like, should I just bring my photo to any of the neighborhood photo lab to print, or should I go to Brilliant Prints? I mean, sorry, it's a tough question, but myself, I'm curious as well, right?
Okay.
I mean, in terms of the level of differences, is there any difference?
It depends on the need, and that's to be honest. Sometimes you just want to go down to your Whampoa Market photo lab, right? Because you want a quick print. You want to print for that purpose. You want to, and that suits. You got to, I guess, line up the costs of travel. Just what you're trying to do with it. You know what I mean? But depending on what your needs are, then yes, Brilliant Prints, because we do small prints, we do big prints, we do one print, we do. There's one project at the moment, 1,000 prints, right? So it doesn't matter. We accommodate everyone, but it depends on your need. You know what I mean? But even myself, sometimes I go to the local labs, which I'm happy to support, because that's someone who's in the industry, that was someone who was helped you out at some point, and full props to them and full credit to them, and I'm happy to support them too. So, but at the end of the day, if you want someone who you want to buy a print from and resell, limited edition, I guess gallery, exhibition, even for your wedding clients, right? And then we're here for that.
I think you're right in the sense of like the objective.
Correct.
Because at the end of the day, if it's I do print quite a fair bit in those even the Fujifilm print lab and stuff like that. Like say I just need to have a few prints, quick print. I'll just send it to them. But of course, they have a certain limitation in terms of the print size. They usually don't do frame. I mean, some may outsource, but I can't speak for every shop. But then, in terms of variety, then probably if it's for a client, and then if I were to, for example, the previous exhibition that I did, I would definitely want to. Oh, this is the one that I did the street photography. I will want to have it print in archival, and then I know that if I were to hang it up somewhere for more than 3 months, my black and white pictures will become sepia. Yellow, right? I mean, I do. So for me, and that texture in that free texture paper actually give a different so-called depth to the image.
Correct.
So that is something I like, and of course, it suits my purpose.
Yes. Yeah.
But of course, I will still say that sometimes, for convenience, I will still go to the lab.
Yeah. Which?
Though I know for you also print 4R?
We do 4R. Yeah.
4R printing.
Correct. Yeah.
So I think they have a lot of variety. I mean, you all have a lot of variety. From canvas to, this is the ice smile, right?
Lumitar, which is
that's
an acrylic block.
Acrylic block. So I would suggest photographers or anybody that you have pictures that you deem precious and think that, you know, you really don't want to lost this photo or forget about this photo. Because I would think lifestyle is getting too fast. I mean, just the other day I was just talking to a friend that, you know, it's really different now. I was quoting like the movie Titanic when it's out. 1 whole year, people still talking about it. 2 years, people still talking about it. But now, no matter how good a movie is, a month.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
it.
For sure.
Even the songs are like that as well.
Yeah, for sure.
It's too fast.
For sure.
So with digital, of course, it makes the whole photography process fun and not as expensive as film.
Correct.
But in terms of memorizing or rather trying to create sentiments of the photo, I would still think print is the way to go.
It is. Yeah, and we don't do that in our home environment or even, you know, sometimes our office space or, you know, our personal space, and because we're limited, right, into I guess the wall space, for instance. But you know, if you look at the moment, as a business, we're doing a lot of corporate stuff, right? We're doing a lot of restaurants, a lot of tech stuff. They're bringing that in, right? They're bringing that back, right? So it's not about the digital anymore. It's about the art, right? It's about, you know, international artists, local artists. You know, they're mixing that up, right? But more importantly, it's on display, right? So you know, you walk through any foyer at the moment, you got to get digital displays, right? You log into Facebook and you're getting ads, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right? But the thing is, now they understand, right, that art is that it's captured, it's on the wall, the sentiments are there. So if you want to create an office setting or a vibe, you know what I mean?
It still have to be print.
It has to be print, right? It doesn't have to be. It could be, I guess, wall art. It could be murals. It could be, what do they call it? It's wallpaper, right?
Yeah,
It could be any of that, right? It could be installation art, right? But the thing is, if it's permanent, right, and it's not changed, and people will see it, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, next week, next month, right? But if you see it enough, right, and then that's where you get them, right? So, you know, and that's why. If you, I guess, yeah. I want to talk about the prints surrounding us, but unfortunately the cameras can't pivot.
There's a lot of prints here.
There's a lot of prints, but
I think they saw it in the videos just now.
yeah. Anyway.
Okay, I think I have one final question. For most people who know me, knows that I shoot a lot of black and white.
Yes.
Or rather, I process a lot of black and white.
Yes.
Sometimes I do wonder when I send to y'all, will be like, you know, cursing me and say, oh, black and white again.
Yes.
Yes, you curse me.
No, we don't curse you. We just curse. Right? the reason is, it's not even a reason.
Will there be difference? I mean, in terms of when you handle a black and white?
For sure. In terms of color gamut, you know, you got the full shadows, what's missing, what's not. And I'm sure when you look at your prints, sometimes things are missing, right? Yeah. And it's because, you know, sometimes on monitor you see it. And sometimes you remember when you shot it, that's what it looked like. Right? And as a photographer and an artist, you know, that's in the back of your head.
Is it more stressful for printers? I mean, if it's a picture that is in the cloud.
No. Well, I guess you'll wait up, right? You, as a friend or a client, you're not stressful because we're used to that.
Yeah.
We black and whites we're always more particular with. Even like handling black and white prints, they're more delicate, right?
Okay.
Especially pictures like, you know, your general black and white is a lot of black. So a little scuff mark, a little scratch, it shows up, right? So we're more particular. Even if you put in an album, right, we have that same issue, right? But it's fine. We're up for a challenge, but it's just understanding that. You know what I mean? So yes, the answer is yes. We're more mindful. We're more particular about it. We curse, but not at you. We curse because it's a challenge. But we also accept challenges as what we make, you know, us who we are. But you know, if we looked at color pictures, we looked at, you know, baby pictures all day, we will get bored. You know, you throw us a black and white, you know, with a lot of shadows and a lot of blacks. You know, that challenges us, right? It keeps us still ticking. You know, the same way, you know, sometimes we get, you know, like illustration art, we get nudes, we get all types of things, right? Which is all creative. It's all art, and we're happy to work with the artists. So,
I think that's the whole dynamic that you all can cover. Because for me,
Yeah.
to be honest, I get a lot of disappointment sending other places for black and white photos.
Yeah.
Either come back brown, disappear. It's just not right.
It's not right, and the reason, I guess, technically, just quickly, is that if the reason is it is sepia, is because the print is used in those instances is like a 5-color or 8-color printer, where they're getting that black and white color gamut from mixing colors. Right, so mixing the greens with the reds with the blues to get that shade of black, right? But with us, we have printers which have black, light black, greys, light
enough
greys.
tones.
So we have enough tones to cover those color gamuts, right? So then we adjust, for media, we adjust for you to get that output. You know what I mean?
So I'm still a very happy customer.
Thank you. After 14 years, thank you.
No complaint. And especially the recent one that I do, the black and white one, I put it up.
Yeah.
It's like a university result in this case. Because when you look at one print, it's fine. But when you have many to compare the tonality, that gets a bit of the worrying factor is there.
Of course, and especially if you've got a collection from like a spectrum of work, right? So if you're doing an exhibition,
and I go to
Japan,
side by
right?
side.
And then you've got works from 2000 pre-COVID to 2017, 2018, and you're displaying that. Right? You got to edit for it, of course, but then your angles, your composition, your color grading, it's all different, right? So you've got to, I guess, mix it for that. But even then, for us as a printer, we pick it up sometimes.
Yeah. So for me, is that I usually they take care of this part, they take care of that part, which is mindful, which is good.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. Okay, cool. So we've been talking for a while. I'm just wondering if you all have any questions for us. Anything, you all can drop us anything. Let me see. We're just going to wait for 5 minutes and then. Okay. I think earlier on somebody actually asked me.
Okay, what's the question?
Do you all print what kind of file size? When somebody send in a file.
Send us through any file styles, really. We prefer not
if somebody
raw.
send you a CMYK.
No, we would talk to them about switching it to RGB because that's the working color space that we work with. But yeah, file styles are not important. It's color space. You know what I mean? Yeah, so it's not bad.
But file size? I mean, different kind of file. What kind of file do you work with?
We print in JPEG, and that's the final last switch before we print. And the reason for that is we don't want to be sending TIFF files or raw files to the printer. It just takes up too much time, too much information. But more importantly, it's not needed. Right? So it takes away the efficiency.
So you adjust accordingly.
Correct.
To suit the kind of medium,
Correct.
and then
Correct.
your print process.
Correct. And a number of times, we don't even tell clients, to be honest. Some people come through with raw file, TIFF files, and I understand because you're working and you're editing, and it has to be that working file. But once you've got it and you're happy with it, right, and we're good with it, we switch it to JPEG anyway. And once again, you're covered by the guarantee. If you're not happy, we'll just reprint it. So, yeah.
Okay. So you are definitely confident about the result. That's why you understand the process definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
That's why you're able to make the best out of the file.
Correct. And our team are very good with that. So it's understanding the client as well, not just the file. If the client's going to be, like a bit more particular, or more concerned, or clients got their reservation about certain things, we'll address that before we go to print. Once it goes to print, even then we'll print a few files, prints before we even go back to the client.
So you all do test print yourself?
Correct. And we have so many eyes, right? So a lot of our team members are cross-trained. So not just like the print manager, you got the framers. Everyone's looking at a certain print with the whole process, different eyes for different reasons. So something will always get picked up at some point. Well, hopefully anyway, right? Some things slip through, but rarely.
Okay, I have one question here. Cheryl actually asked, colors from my calibrated laptop monitor typically looks really different from what I see on my iPhone or Samsung phone.
Correct.
Well, I understand different devices render colors differently. Should I really trust my calibrated monitor, or must I calibrate an external monitor?
Depends on what you're doing with it, Cheryl. If you're going to print, then of course talk to your print I guess.
I think it depends on, are you going to send that print from your phone?
Correct. But, yeah, so a lot of the times, clients or photographers or artists have a file. They'll send it to, I guess, their clients, which will look at it on screen or monitor, and it will be dull. Right? And the reason why it's dull is most devices nowadays, the Apples, the iPhones, I guess the monitors or the screens are really bright, right? Because in general, that's what people like. And that's what people think. They want vibrancy, they want brightness. You know, so that's, to them, that's what is nice. But it's not true.
But talking about this, I actually experienced some of the devices. They have the auto brightness.
Correct.
Yeah, like you based on environment, they don't want to hurt your eyes, so you adjust.
Correct.
So I've experienced it before. I mean, many years ago, which I didn't know. My device, and then I was editing on it. One photo I edit maybe 2 different locations, and then the color comes out. Because maybe I'm at somewhere very bright, they're going to brighten it, right? Brighten, yeah. But then when you are in a darker place, the monitor just automatically going to become darker.
Correct. But it's understanding that.
Yeah. But then when you edit, and then you will to send for print, then you have problem, right?
It's a slight problem, but if you have a full understanding and then process, then it's fine.
I've done that before. I've ever experienced as in, use a laptop that have the auto brightness, edited it, post on Facebook.
Don't do that.
And then I look at my phone, or I look at from my another computer.
Yeah.
Why is that photo so underexposed?
Yeah. That's why you see the Ben Qs with the little shadow things and the Enzos, right?
Yeah.
The professionals. And that's why that's important. Like even after calibration, you had that as your next step. That even after that, you still have problems, right? But that eliminates a few of them.
In fact, I spoke to one photographer in Europe before. He told me he set up his editing place in a constant light room. That means no window.
Yeah.
He have a certain color temperature light bulb, and then he always wear black color to edit, so that there's no color cast. Is that precise?
Correct.
Yeah. But I think I would suggest Cheryl to actually send the print from the calibrated monitor.
Yes.
Right.
Send that file through, and then but we can print it. Well, not just us, anyone really. Anyone who's calibrated as well.
Because I think her question is, should I use a calibrated laptop monitor, or does she need to have an external monitor?
Yeah, you have to understand the difference. Right, so we have photographers who solely work off laptops, especially the destination photographers, right? But you have to understand that end goal, the end results, right? Like if you don't need to go to print, or you don't need to go to print for that level, then that's cool, right? You're saving time. You don't have to carry around a big monitor. Right?
But
so
if you need to print?
If you need to print, then you have to understand what variation there is. Right? Some people edit off a laptop because they're on the fly, right? So they could be in Switzerland, they could be in Japan, blah, 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 editing on the fly because they need that delivered, right, for print, for whatever. But then if they're going to print, they might come back and rework that file on a proper monitor.
So if I were to calibrate a laptop monitor, it will improve a little bit?
It does, but because laptops, you generally on the fly, you're out and about, right? So the ambient light is going to be totally different anyway, right? So, but then and once again, it's about to what you like as an artist or a photographer, because 95% of the time, the end user won't know the difference anyway, right? The understanding of that color range or gamut workflow it's not there. But if you're professional, then and you're particular, which is important, like you, like us, that is important to us. So we do that anyway, and it's a creature of habit, it's our process. There's no issue.
And another question, how long does the color of a digital print on canvas last? Okay, we mentioned this, 75 years, something like that?
Yeah, we'll go into it. Wilhelm Institution in Europe. So basically, they're an institution which grade, I guess, color or products, right? So example, Oakley glasses or something. So if Oakley glasses were meant to be in the UV light outside, they shine this ultra light on it, and they say, okay, well, this is graded for 200 years, right? What our canvas suppliers, our ink suppliers do is they send it to the same lab. Right? So those two connected as a product, they say, okay, well, then we grade this for 100 years, 200 years, right? So in this case, it's institution tested, right? And I guess internationally standard graded
For the quality.
for the quality, right? And then on top of that, we put a I guess a laminate to protect it from moisture and whatever else.
What satin laminations?
Satin, so semi-gloss once again.
Okay.
Yeah.
So does, if it's a color or black and white photo, any difference in terms of how long it lasts?
No, it doesn't.
Same, right?
No. If you've got quality inks, and it's generally genuine Canon, which we use, Epson, blah blah blah, they're all graded, they're all guaranteed. The issue is if you use, you go to a cheaper printer, someone who's using Chinese ink or something, and you'll see the number of sepia prints or magenta prints, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And the reason for that is that the greens are faded, or one of the colors are faded, and the stronger color will resist, right? And generally it's the reds that stay, right? But for these prints, no problem. And I guess the technology is there now. So in terms of quality of print, lasting, everyone's kind of there, right? High level, more than what most people need, but you got to look at the overall business or I guess partnership.
I would think for anybody that want to try to print, I think the good process will be make a consultation session with you.
Yeah.
I mean with you guys, and then if it's a certain sizable print, you may want to look at their monitor, and or even do a small test print.
Correct.
To make sure everything you're happy with everything before the whole final product is printed.
Definitely. And then if you have a printer at home, right, then print yourself.
Yeah.
You know, it's like most people, not everyone, but most people do.
Okay, this is another very interesting thing. Printer have its color profile. So if I would have a home printer, then it may differ again.
It does, but it gives you a gauge of where you're at.
Okay.
You know, and then the printer. Most people have printers at home printing just documents, right? If you have a Canon Pro Series at home, then that differentiation is not so bad. It'll give you an idea of where you're at. Even before that, go to your local Fuji or Kodak store. Right?
Do some test.
Do some test.
That's where the photo lab, right?
Yeah. See where you're at. Even their technology is not so bad nowadays. You know, and it's convenient, right? But it depends on what you require. But you know, we're here.
That's good. That's good. Okay, cool. Any more questions? No, we're going to wrap up for tonight. Yeah. Any question? Can just send me here now. Yeah, we're just going to take one more question. How about that? Okay. Okay, before that comes in, just want to share something with you all. Dylan have agreed that, you know, if you all want to pray with them, I actually have a promo code. Derrick Ong, DERRICK ONG 10, numeric 10, and you'll get a 10% discount. And it will last until end of April. Yeah. So I think you just go to the website, send the file in. I think there's a column that you can fill up this promo code or something.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
And then you can try it out. But of course, if you all have a little bit of worry about, you know, you want to print something big or first time, that you really want to see some, understand the whole process.
Correct.
And how they work, you know, you can come down, take a look at the monitor, and then bring your laptop down even, right? You can compare and see the color difference.
Correct. Or if you just want to come out and just hang out and look at our prints or just soak in the vibe, we're here.
Take a look at the showroom. A lot of prints here. I mean, you only can see one angle, but there are a lot of prints here.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff, amazing colors. Okay, for me, I'm very happy with my black and white and stuff. So, okay, type the promo code. Somebody mentioned. Okay, let me just type the promo code here, so that everybody can see it. 1 second, a bit slow.
So while Derrick's doing that, I'd like to thank Derrick for the invitation for us to share and I guess to have these conversations. We had these anyway, right? But just more so, I guess, sharing it with the viewers at home. Thank you for Fuji Singapore for, I guess, always supporting the photographers and the industry in Singapore. And you guys for logging in and, you know, sharing your Friday nights with us. You know, there's so many things you could be doing, and hopefully you've gained something from it. So we appreciate you. And, you know, if anything, it encourages Derrick to do these more often. So type that in and tell him you want to do it more often. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I think I've keyed in the promo code now. Everybody can see it. Okay, I'd like to take this chance to thank Fujifilm Singapore for doing this webinar, all the support and stuff, and also brilliant Prince Dylan for willing to take part in this. Dylan, generally, I know him for a long time, 14 years now, since that meetup. He's generally a very shy person.
Yeah.
But I'm thankful that he's here with me tonight.
No, thank you, Derrick.
Share the experience about prints, and also to encourage more people to print. Because at the end of the day, as a photographer, if you shoot a really nice photo, you really want to complete that journey. And the moment we hang it up on the wall, it's really...
I get you, Derrick. I get you.
I don't know how to say. Okay, speechless, but do it and you understand. Okay, so any questions? I think if you follow us, follow me for Instagram, can still just share me anything. Okay, so that's all for tonight. Thank you, Fujifilm, once again, and thank you, Dylan.
Thank you, Derrick.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Stay safe. Okay, bye bye. Thank you.